think about this great investment. Okay. The investment is the Word of God. Jesus said that the Word of God is the seed that was in the parable of the sower. The parable that if we don't understand, we can't understand all the rest. And it's about the Word of God being sown, implanted, and then growing and bearing fruit. You know, in Psalm 119 it says, how can a young man or a young person keep their way pure? By taking heed according to your word. Your word I've hid in my heart that I might not sin against you. Investing the Word of God in our heart, the engrafted Word. It says in Joshua 1:8, this book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate in it day and night, that you may observe to do everything that's written in it, and then your way will be made prosperous. Then you'll have good success. It's not talking about this word shall not depart from your mouth. You keep this Bible in there all day long, walk around. It's talking about the words, eating the words, chewing on the words, meditating on the words. If you're meditating on them day and night, that means that unless you're up with a candle or a flashlight in your bed, you've had to memorize them. You've had to think about them. You have to have those words rolling around in your head. And that is what, when we apply our hearts to do it, makes us successful. Now in James 1, verse 21, it talks about getting rid of all this uncleanness and everything that remains and all the wickedness that's in us, that we choose to turn from that and we receive with a humble spirit the engrafted word, some versions say implanted word, that's able to save our souls. Now, I have a little illustration here because my wife used to work in the peach orchards. And peach trees don't survive very long in the Arkansas climate, and especially in this area. It's a little harsh, a little hard. So she would get a very hardy plum tree, a little plum sapling about 12 inches tall, and they'd slice a little slit in it, and then they'd take that little graft from the peach tree and they'd engraft it into that plum. And now you have a peach growing, drawing strength from those roots and producing peach fruit, wonderful fruit that will last and be hardy and produce a lot in this environment. The Word of God engrafted into our hearts will produce the fruit that God desires in our life, that will produce a valuable crop that endures for eternity. How many things that we invest in this life are going to make any difference in 50, 100 years, much less 1,000 years? Yet the Word of God endures forever. So what I'm encouraging you to do is to have the richest, most full life, which I believe we do. We have a rich, wonderful, full life, and it's all because we've invested in the Word of God. I was in the store the other day, and a lady was in front of me, and she had a mask on, and she was about our age, and she was just had her eyes, she was so scared, and she was saying to the checker, you know, it's so terrible that we have to risk our life to get out here to buy food. And she was just nervous and shaky, and her eyes were big, and she was trying to hurry up. And the checker saw me, and she's like, oh, hi, Roger, because we always cheer him up and blow bubbles. Linda's always blowing bubbles. She goes, how are you? I said, oh man, we're having the best year of our life. That lady in front of me spun around like, what? You know, like shocked. And it's the truth, because our life is not determined by our circumstances. Our life is not determined by the things that are happening around us, or what the world says, or the politicians say, or the academics say. Our world is guided, determined by the purposes of God, because it's grounded in the Word of God. And every day when we meet people, we have something valuable to share, something that has eternal value, something that can change situations, change attitudes, change emotions, and give people hope, because it's the living Word of God, the only investment that endures forever. So I'm encouraging you this year that as we start looking toward next year and thinking about what we're not going to do and what we want to do, and all those things that we say we're going to do that we don't do, I say, don't raise your hands, but how many will try to read through the Word of God this year?